Okay. What the fuck? There we go. I probably should. Alright. So that's good. Um, okay. Alrighty. Anywho, yeah, we're gonna definitely go right into these horror. Uh,
My name
fuck, I forgot. Anyways, uh, here we go. Uh, hi. Hi to you too. Anyways, so there we go.
is Caleb
Let's go.
Fletcher. I'm 16 years old, and this took place around 8 to 9 months ago, on the 24th of August, which was a Saturday. School had been going on for about 2 weeks, so to de-stress a little, I decided to see if my friends, who I'll call Griffin and Broly, wanted to hop on Fortnite. My mom and sister were out shopping, my dad was working, and I was bored. It was around 8 p.m. when we finally got on to play, because I had decided to make pizza rolls beforehand and ended up burning the batch. After a few rounds, I could tell my friends were getting tired of losing, so they got off after only an hour. I planned on just lying down with my phone and going to bed. That was until I heard my 2 dogs barking outside. It's not unusual for them to bark, given how people typically walk on the side of the road, but I still looked anyway, just to make sure. I didn't see anybody, but seconds after looking out the window, I heard our garage door open and shut. That usually means my dad is home from work, but I didn't see his van outside, and he had texted me earlier telling me that he would be working late tonight. I decided to walk downstairs into the dining room and look out the window to get a better view. From there, I could see that our driveway was empty. There wasn't a person or vehicle in sight. I wasn't the type to go investigate, so I ran back up to my bedroom and texted my family group chat to ask if anybody was home. I told my mom about the garage door, and she
What the
told me to turn
hell?
off the lights, lock my
Oh my god. Has it just not been showing at all? What the fuck is going on? Why why isn't it showing? What the fuck is going on? Oh my god. Okay, there we go.
bedroom and stay there until she got home. So I did
Hi.
just that. About 15 minutes later, I thought I heard our wooden floor downstairs creaking, like someone was trying to be sneaky. I didn't have anything to use as a weapon, so I unclipped my microphone's boom arm from my desk and quietly opened the door. I walked out onto our upstairs balcony and looked over, trying to see if I could spot anyone hiding or anything suspicious. I stupidly yelled, "Is anybody there?" like they were really going to answer. I thought everything was fine though, until I saw a large silhouette of someone standing underneath the balcony. I panicked and ran to the closest room with a door, which happened to be my small bathroom. The intruder must have known I noticed them, because I heard loud and fast footsteps running up our stairs as I locked myself in the bathroom. I had stupidly left my phone in the bedroom, which was the room right next to me. After I built up enough courage, I bolted into my bedroom, locking the door as soon as I got in. My sister's room was right across from mine, and its door was open, so I figured the intruder must have been in there. After locking my bedroom door, I grabbed my phone and typed 911 into it. Just before the storage room in my wall was open just a tad, I saw a dark brown eye peeking through the crevice, staring into my soul. The pure terror I felt in that moment is something I'll never forget. I booked it down the
Yeah.
stairs and out my front door, running up the hill to my neighbor's house. He was a police officer. He alerted the other cops while I stayed with his wife, and he went down to investigate. I told him exactly where the intruder was, hiding in my bedroom. Minutes later, I ran back down the hill to see if the intruder had been caught. When I walked in, I saw a tall, skinny man with a gray beard and a dirty black coat being pushed onto the floor by my neighbor as he was getting handcuffed. I'm not allowed to be home alone anymore, and we have better security around our house now. Molly was just
Hey.
happy to know I wasn't hurt, and they were thankful for my neighbor's bravery. I don't wish an experience like this on anybody, not even my worst enemy.
Huh.
I'm a manager at a mid-sized grocery store. I do 10-hour shifts and work mostly overnights. At the time, our store was having some staff issues that made pretty much every department understaffed and overworked.
Uh, Hold on a second. Um, uh, well, that's not. Okay. Yeah. Mm. I have Discord on my uh computer, so that's why I'm looking over here. Are you trying to like ask to be in a call with here with this thing or what? I don't understand. Yes, that is uh creepy, but okay.
And overnight stalking was no exception. I had one guy that would help me 5 nights a week, but that was it, other than me. This was on his day off, so it was only me working. I got in at 10 and was alone by 10:15. After running some numbers in the office, I started pulling out loads of boxes to the aisles to start unpacking and stocking. Even though I had no help this night, I still had to get everything done, so I was working hard and as quickly as I could. I didn't even stop for a break or anything, but suddenly a tapping sound echoed through the store. I stopped and listened, hearing it happen again, and it sounded just like someone tapping on a window at the front of the store. I looked at my watch for the
What
first time
the?
since I started working, and it was 2 a.m. Time had flown by, but there was no reason anyone should be here. I walked down the aisle and to the front, where I quickly saw someone outside the store. He was leaning against the window and trying to look inside. He spotted me as I walked up and stared at me. When I was just on the other side, I asked what he wanted. The man, looking like he was homeless, told me to open the door. He had a
No.
straight... I said we were closed and he couldn't be here, then turned to walk away, but the man immediately banged on the window. Not tapping like he was before. This was now harsh banging. I looked back at him, and he was clearly enraged, with his fist against the glass. Thinking this guy was crazy, I told him I'd call the cops if he doesn't leave, then started pulling my phone out to show I was serious, and only then did he step away from the window. He still had that angry look as he walked away and into the parking lot. Seeing him leave, I put my phone away and got back to work. We get a lot of crazy customers around here, so I didn't think on it too much. And again, I had to focus on getting my work done. I was only able to get a small cart of boxes stocked, so it was maybe 15 minutes later when a sudden sound echoed through the store. It sounded like something metal snapping or scraping. I quickly dropped what I was doing and ran up to the front. Nobody was at the windows, so I went up to the entrance door. It was one of those revolving glass doors, which uses a bolt lock on the top to keep it from opening when we close the store for the night. Right away, I saw that that bolt was missing. Like, not even just unlocked. The entire bolt was gone. I pressed my hand on the door and it glided around, completely allowing anyone to get in. I could feel my face turn white as I realized what this meant, and I knew I needed to call the police immediately. I turned around to go to the front office, but was instantly looking into the face of that guy from before. He was only a few feet from me, still having that enraged stare. I didn't hesitate to run out the revolving door, hearing the guy follow close behind me. As I ran out into the parking lot, an old van came speeding up to the front. It nearly hit me, but I just kept running until I got to my car. When I rushed in, I noticed the guy wasn't chasing me anymore, and the van was now speeding out of the parking lot. I called the cops and spent the next couple hours explaining what happened. It wasn't until the next day that we got security footage of the man breaking inside, but it wasn't the best image quality. We can say almost for sure that they were trying to get me into their van, but we have no way to know why. I'm sure if I'd not been as quick though, I probably wouldn't have ever been seen again. This was a few months ago while driving for DoorDash. I only drive as a side gig, maybe 10 to 15 hours a week.
Okay,
This
so my
night I was
microphone is
only doing
muted.
a couple orders since it was already late, and I had picked up a small order around 1 a.m. It was to be delivered to a business building somewhere across town, which was apparent by the address. This was a normal thing, usually for overnight workers or whatever. When I pulled into the parking lot though, it was empty. No cars at all, and it didn't look like there was a parking lot behind the building either. I parked in a spot near the front and got out with the food. The place was definitely an office building of some kind and was smaller than most, being only 2 stories and not very wide. All the lights were off in the windows though, aside from one light behind the front door. I walked up to the door and checked the app, seeing it has specific drop-off instructions to enter the main hallway and leave the bag outside of room 232. I looked through the door in the building, seeing this hallway with a bunch of closed doors on either side. Delivering to specific rooms I'd only done at hotels, so this was kind of new for me. I tested the door, pushing on it, and it was unlocked, so I stepped inside. I expected to hear people working, moving around, or talking, but instead didn't hear anything. There wasn't a single sound in the whole building. It was just white noise from the overhead lights buzzing above me. As I passed the first few doors though, they were all numbers in the 100s, like 102 and 106. The room the instructions said to leave it at was in the 200s, so I assumed that meant it was on the 2nd floor. In the middle of the hallway was the doorway leading to the staircase. It was held open with a wedge door stopper on the floor, but the lights weren't on. I stepped in and up to the bottom of the staircase, then looked up. The whole stairwell was pitch black. Not even any light was coming from above, where the room was supposed to be for me to drop it off at. Again, I started to notice the eerie silence, and it sent a chill through me. I was always one to do whatever the instructions say, so I'd get good reviews, but this was the first time I told myself that this was too sketchy. I stepped out of the stairwell and back into the hallway, and just as I did, the door right across from me opened. The lights in that room were off, but a man emerged from behind the door and stepped into the hallway. He was wearing street clothes and just didn't look like an office worker at all. But he stood in front of me and pointed past me at the stairwell. 232 is up there. I nodded, but didn't move, and neither did he. He just looked me in the eyes with a look like he was suppressing his anger. After an intense few seconds, I dropped the bag on the ground and started quickly walking to the exit. The man didn't follow me, but I heard his footsteps go into the stairwell and up the stairs as I left the building. I got in my car and left. I didn't know what that was, or if I was maybe overreacting about it, so I didn't call the police. The following day, though, the police actually called me. Apparently the office reported a break-in, and in the CCTV footage, they saw my car and license plate, tracking it back to me. They also had footage of the break-in, and so they called me in to question me about any information I might have. I didn't have much to give, but it turned out there were actually 3 people that broke inside. One was downstairs, who I saw, but the other 2 were shown on the cameras to be hiding at the top of the stairs, seemingly waiting for me to go up. Disturbingly, several other delivery orders were made to that same office that night. All of the other drivers were smarter than I was, though, leaving the orders outside by the front door. What would have taken place in that office had any of us gone up to the second floor is unknown, but hopefully police can find the 3 men before anyone falls victim to it.
This all went down in the summer of my 8th grade year. I was on my way to finally becoming a high schooler, and it was legit one of the best summers of my life. I had 2.5 months of no school until I was officially in high school. I used my time up mostly by playing video games, sleeping, or playing basketball with my friends. I was actually home alone for a whole entire week, and my parents thought I could hold down the fort. I was a relatively good kid and they trusted me, so to us as a family, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Besides, I had his cell phone, so if anything were to go wrong, I would have a way of calling someone for help. My dad also gave me access to one of his credit cards in case I were to get hungry and didn't want to eat what we had at the house. Really, I was stoked about having the house to myself. I've had people tell me that it was pretty messed up of my family to leave me alone for that amount of time, especially considering I was barely 14 years old. I don't really think so, though. They didn't expect anything bad to happen, and neither did I. It was a rare occasion as well that they were gone for so long. This wasn't something they did often. As a matter of fact, I still live with my parents now, and I'm 19 years old now. And ever since that day, everything went down. I haven't been home alone for more than 24 hours at a time. It was a Friday night around 11 p.m. when I heard my phone go off. I received a text message from an unknown number, and all it said was, "Hey." I messaged them back and I asked who they were, and they immediately became passive-aggressive and were upset with me for not knowing who it was. I apologized to them, thinking it was someone I was close with. I did just get a new phone a few months prior and I lost all my contacts, so I explained that to them and they still seemed pretty upset. They started harassing me and I ended up thinking that they were just pranking me, so I turned my phone on silent and continued playing my PlayStation. I'm not sure how long after, probably around 10 minutes or so, I would say. I heard a knock on my bedroom window. I thought I was just hearing shit at first, but I still decided to check and see who was out there just in case. I moved my blinds over to the side and I looked out the window, but I didn't see anyone. I wasn't convinced though. I knew I heard a knock and I was starting to become very paranoid. I looked through some of the windows throughout my house to see if I could spot anyone, but again, there was nobody. I can't deny the eeriness to happen, like something really, really bad. I took my phone out to call my mom, and I had a bunch of notifications from that person that was texting me from earlier on. The most recent message said, "I'm here." I couldn't believe what I was reading, and it made my nightmares and everything I was feeling come to life. I went to call my mom, and very quickly I realized my phone wasn't picking up any service, which was extremely unusual. I have really good cell phone connection, as does my whole family, especially at home. Like, we never run into issues with that. It was at this point I was literally terrified and I had no clue what to do. I had no way of contacting anyone, and I knew I was absolutely screwed. I wanted to message that person back and tell them to leave me alone, but obviously I couldn't, considering I had no service. If you're wondering why I didn't use my Wi-Fi to send an iMessage, it's because the person texting me wasn't on an iOS device. I was pacing back and forth in my living room when all of a sudden I heard some noises coming from outside. I ran to the direction of which I heard the noise, which was toward the back patio, and I listened. Someone was screaming for help at the top of their lungs, over and over. My heart began thumping out of my chest, and my initial reaction was that it was a setup. But me, being the kind of person I am, and considering I took boxing classes for years and knew how to fight, I wanted to stick up for myself and for whoever was potentially being hurt. I'm not going to lie, I was really wanting to beat the crap out of whoever was harassing me. Plus, I knew if I didn't do something now that something bad was likely to happen anyway,
That's
so
true.
I did the unthinkable. I walked outside to my back patio and it was silent. The only thing I could hear were the crickets chirping. I waited for a second until I yelled, "Hey, who's there?" "Hey, don't mess with me, man. You don't want to start something you can't finish," I said. Almost right after that, there was an extremely bright light flashing at me from afar. Our house sits on quite a bit of land, and we have a huge backyard with tons and tons of trees. Whoever it was pointing the light at me, clearly trying to piss me off. The light then began moving all around towards my direction, at the house for a minute, then it turned off. Within an instant, the screaming picked back up again. It was the same voice, pleading for help. I knew it was now or never. I ran back inside and into the garage and grabbed my old baseball bat as a weapon, and I made my way back outside towards the woods, heading directly where I first saw the flashlight. My heart was fluttering at this point, as I wasn't sure what to expect. As I got closer and closer, my anxiety about doubled. I couldn't believe that I was in this situation, and I had a sudden realization that what I was doing was pretty stupid. Right when I was about to turn around to go back inside, somebody from the woods that I couldn't see said something to me. "Hey, over here, man." It was so dark that I couldn't see him or anything barely for that matter. All I could see were the dark silhouettes of all the trees around me.
Yeah,
"Who's there?"
no.
I asked. That was when the voice ahead of me whispered and told me to quiet down. He asked me to help him, and he said he was tied up to a tree and that someone had kidnapped him. Obviously, this alarmed me to the extreme. However, despite me thinking it was possibly a setup, I went with my gut feeling of helping this guy. "Hey, it's going to be okay, man. Just calm down. I'm going to call the police for you. Just hang tight." That's when he started yelling at me, basically. "No, help me right now. You don't understand. He's going to come back in a few minutes and kill me," he said. I was in a really bad situation, as I just wanted to do the right thing. "Okay, I'm coming. Where are you?" I asked. "I'm just right ahead. Just keep walking straight. I can already see you." My heart was beating at an incomprehensible rate now. Even much so that I'm surprised it didn't set me into a panic, and I was fully into the woods at this point. I looked ahead after walking for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and I saw a dark shadow that looked like a person, maybe about 30 feet away. "Hey man, is that you?" I asked. But he didn't reply. I sat in silence for a moment while I tried to piece together what the hell was happening. If that was him, or even if it wasn't him, I was in some deep shit. Because the man I was looking at definitely wasn't tied up to a tree. He was standing up straight and very much alive. In only a moment worth of time, the person started running at me. It was at that exact moment I started backing up, and slowly I eventually snapped out of it and I booked it all the way to my house. Somehow I made it inside before he caught up to me. I shut and locked the sliding glass door behind me, and he was standing right there pulling on the door trying to get it open. He was a very tall but slender-looking man with a wolf mask on and one big-ass hammer. I barely hesitated and I ran to my room. I know what you're thinking right now, too. Why didn't I just defend myself with the bat? Well, originally that was my plan, but shit happens. I don't know, I was absolutely terrified. And you would be too if you were in that same situation. I was pacing back and forth in my living room, trying my luck with my phone again, but still, I had no service. I started having some sort of manic episode, and I began screaming and punching my couch. I was extremely angry, and I was sick of being the victim. I about ran out there and beat him myself, but I chose a different approach. I waited patiently, and sure enough, after only a minute, he was knocking on my front door. I ran over to the door, and I told him, "Come on in, man, see what happens if you step even a single foot in my house. You won't be walking out if you do, that's for sure." He then started laughing. I just kept quiet and I went back to my room. The knocking grew louder and louder, and eventually he started screaming. No idea what he was saying, but I think he was mocking me. A few minutes went by of this, and that's when I heard my living room window shatter. I got myself ready and I hid behind my open bedroom door, just waiting for him to walk in. The footsteps got closer and closer as he walked into a few different rooms. Now he was heading to mine. I gripped the bat tighter and said a little prayer. He walked in and I was able to hit him in the head with the bat, and he fell straight to the ground. I hit him a few times while he was down as well to make sure he wasn't getting back up anytime soon, and I ran. I ran down the road about 5 or 6 miles to my friend's house, and when I finally got them to answer the door, I briefly explained what happened, and they let me use their phone to call the police. A few police officers were sent to my house, and a few officers to my friend's house as well. I then called my parents and they rushed home. They were over 2 hours away though, so it was going to be a while before they made it back. I told the police exactly what happened, and it turned out I had killed him. I didn't know if he was dead or not until the police officer told me. I was worried I was going to be in trouble even though I didn't do anything illegal. It was self-defense. The police took me in for questioning, and since I was a minor at the time, they had to bring my parents in as well. Yes, I killed a man as a teenager, and everything about it has completely changed my life. I've been numb, I've been scared, and I've been anxious. I can't tell you how many nightmares I've had about this whole thing. It's all over now, and this was years ago. But sometimes it feels like it only happened yesterday, and I relive the whole thing. All of the blood, the screaming, and more importantly, my innocence. About 10 years ago, when I was 15 years old, one of my favorite things to do was have sleepovers with my friends. I would usually go to their house because my family wasn't very welcoming, and as much as I hate to say it, I was kind of embarrassed by them. This time in particular, it was a Saturday night, and I was staying at my friend Chase's house. Chase's parents were rich and had a really beautiful home, and I just loved being there. Whenever I was over there, we would do just about everything. His dad had a man cave in the basement with a 65 or so inch TV, a pool table, a foosball table, and even a hot tub. Seriously, I had some of the best times of my childhood over there, and Chase and I are still great friends even to this day. However, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. We went through some seriously crazy shit together, hanging out in the basement and goofing off, when all of a sudden Chase's dad came down the stairs to inform us that him and Chase's mom had to leave, and that they won't be back until late that night. Like 4 o'clock in the morning late. We would probably still be up by then because usually we pulled all-nighters on the weekends, so we didn't really mind that they were leaving. Besides, they had a family emergency situation thing going on, and it was really important, so they left. As a matter of fact, when his parents left, we kind of got into a manic hyper mood. Probably because we had the house to ourselves and we knew there were no parents around to supervise us. That fun was short-lived though. No, we weren't completely alone obviously because we had each other, but we were alone together. You get what I mean. When his parents left, we went upstairs and grabbed some snacks and pigged out on everything we could find. We went back downstairs and continued playing this one dirt bike racing game that we loved until we got bored. After that, we just hung out on our phones watching Vine and just letting loose. Chase put some random horror movie on, and eventually, I think he started to drift off to sleep. Sometimes I would have a bit of anxiety when I would stay at any of my friends' houses. Like, I would get homesick and stuff. Usually I would tough through it, obviously, and it wasn't something I would talk about much to anyone because it was embarrassing. But I started to feel this dread-like feeling in my chest, and it was worse than the usual feeling I would get. I thought I was overreacting, so I lied back down and I went back on my phone until I slowly started to doze off. I swear, within minutes of dozing off, I woke up to the sound of a door opening slowly. It was the laundry room door in the basement. I peeked over the couch and what I saw was absolutely terrifying. The door was wide open. It just looked like a black abyss of pure darkness in there. I couldn't see anything at all. I wanted to believe that my mind might have been playing tricks on me or that I was dreaming, but deep down I knew what I saw and what I heard was 100% real. I was really on the edge of my seat now and I decided to wake Chase up. Chase, hey bro, wake up. He seemed to have heard me sort of because he moved and made a noise, but you could tell he was still sleeping for the most part. He had no awareness or any clue I was talking to him. I literally had to go up to him and grab him to wake him up. I told him what happened and he told me to relax and go back to sleep and that it happens all the time. That made me feel better, but at the same time, not really. I told him I wasn't comfortable sleeping down there with that door wide open, especially after it magically opened by itself. It was just very unsettling. We both got up and walked over there and shut the door ourselves, and we laid back down. Chase was back to sleep within minutes, and here we were at square one again. I don't know how, but I managed to fall back to sleep, and I was able to convince myself that there was nothing to worry about. I have no other way to explain this other than bluntly saying I awoke again, but this time it wasn't from a door creaking. There was a man staring and standing right above Chase and I from behind the couch.
Oh, what the fuck?
When I tell you I screamed at the top of my lungs, I mean it's probably not possible for any human to be louder than I was at that exact moment. Chase woke up immediately and saw the man too. We were both frozen in fear. This man had this disturbing, disconnected look on his face and he looked very ill. We both ran, but in order to do that, we had to get past him. There were only two exits. One being the staircase that led upstairs and out the front door outside, or the downstairs patio sliding door. In a panic, we split up, but we managed to get away from him. Or I did at least. I ran outside and Chase ran upstairs. The creepy man followed Chase rather than me, and when I got outside, I caught my breath and I called the police, and then I hung up after I told them the address and that there was a break-in. I had to make sure Chase was okay, that's all I cared about. I made my way back inside from the same door I used to get outside, and it was quiet. Way too quiet. I started to get this queasy feeling again, but I knew I had to find Chase. I started heading up the stairs all while trying to be as quiet as possible, but the steps were making a slight creaking sound with just about every step I took. Then, that's when I heard it. I'll never forget the scream. Chase let out this horrific scream and he was begging for help for like a full minute straight, all the way until I finally made it to him upstairs. The man was holding him up by his neck and choking him, attempting to kill him. I grabbed one of Chase's sports trophies and went behind the man and I struck him in the head with it and he fell down immediately. We took the opportunity to run outside and we hid in Chase's treehouse that his dad built for him until the cops arrived. When the police finally made it, the man was gone and there was no sight of him at all. He was an older man, probably close to his 50s, had medium-length gray hair and was average height.
Wow.
He told the police what he looked like, but it never really helped anything because he's still out there most likely. And it's hard for any of us to accept that.
I remember back when I was in high school, during my junior year, a new kid joined two of my classes about midway through the semester. It was the first semester of the school year, and out of nowhere he was just in my class one day. His name was Justin, and he sat next to me in one of the classes because there happened to be an open seat. I didn't really know where he had come from or why he had suddenly started going to my school, but as the semester went on, I sort of became friends with him. We didn't really have much in common, and he seemed a little bit weird, but we did sit next to each other in a class and also had the other class together, so he would often talk to me during class, and we would sometimes talk in the other one as well. Overall, I never knew him very well. I did ask him a few questions about himself. For example, I asked him what school he had come from before my high school. I also asked him if he had just moved to the area. He named a school that I had never heard of before.
Gaim. Yes, Gaim. Yeah, Gaim. Okay, sweet. What the fuck? Um, no, I'm, uh, going to end, uh, this one right now. Um, start another one later, but I need to, uh, cook dinner for myself and everything. So, yeah. Uh, yeah.